The story begins with various forms of microscopic marine life drifting away from the eye of a researcher. We see her looking through a microscope. She is Priya, who tells her colleague that this research is hard work, but her colleague thinks Priya loves it. Priya replies that her father wanted her to have a good job while her mother wanted her to get married, and science was a great way to disappoint them. At this moment, a colleague named Ben enters the room. He mentions that they are doing some sampling in the swamps. Ben knows it's a last-minute request, but he wants to join Priya in the research, so she agrees. After Ben leaves, another person enters, introducing himself as Will. He is new and is taking certain materials away. The next scene shows Priya, Ben, and Will driving together to the swamps. Will seems to break the silence by asking if there's a chance they could get malaria there. The other two find the question funny due to the mosquitoes. Ben says it's possible but highly unlikely. Priya adds that it's no more likely than in the city. Soon, Ben turns on an educational game that plays the sounds of certain animals and lets listeners guess which animal makes them. The two experts do well, guessing correctly as they hear the sounds. When Will tries to intervene, his ignorance is instantly evident, making the others laugh again. Upon arriving at a gas station, the trio parks near a man with his pickup truck. He yells at his dog, whose name is Cerberus, while Priya is filling up the gas. The man starts talking to her, and she says she's going to the swamps and asks why he's asking. She also informs him that she works with aquatic ecosystems. He has heard about how they take water from farmers to give to the frogs. Priya corrects him, saying they do not take water from anyone. The conversation quickly turns into a misunderstanding. The man then states that when someone restricts the flow, pressure can build. He demonstrates this by bending the hose and letting go, with gas spilling on the ground and on Priya. As if that weren't enough, he throws his lit cigarette into the fluid to scare Priya. Fortunately, a fire doesn't ignite because the gas is inert, but the malicious man still manages to scare her and leaves laughing at his prank. When she tries to enter the store, he continues to bother Priya by holding the door to prevent her entry. Tired of his behavior, she eventually fires a cruel insult at him. After that, the trio continues their trip. Ben asks if Priya is sure she's okay, and she says the gas station guy was being rude. This makes Ben start talking about how our species is the smartest, but has the greatest propensity for stupidity. He goes on about the subject until he drifts away from the other two. Ben concludes by saying they are out of luck as night falls. The group seems to have reached the swamps. The next day, we see they have set up tents and all their research equipment. Priya gives Will special clothes to wear, but he doesn't know how to put them on, so she shows the newbie how to do it, but he still falls down. While doing her research, Priya pours ethanol into a tube to observe the small creature swimming inside. Then, she pours ethanol into 3 tubes for the trio to drink. Ben toasts to Will's first day in the field. Soon they all crack open a beer, sharing laughter and toasts. Later they sit around the campfire, and Ben tells a story about a swagman whose ghost wanders the swamps. Ben tries to scare his colleagues by saying that the swagman takes anyone who is unlucky enough to cross his aquatic domain. The next day, Will tells Priya that she cares too much about that place. She expresses that it's impossible not to care. As the duo walks together, they encounter the gas station man. His dog is barking as he is busy skinning a pig he caught. Priya tells him that he is in a reserve, which means he can't be there without a research permit. She wants him to know that hunting and having dogs are strictly prohibited in that area. There's a woman with him who says they have a permit, but Priya is too smart to believe that. Offended, the woman asks Priya if she is calling her a liar. Priya doesn't hesitate to confirm that she is. This makes the man turn and laugh. He looks at her to say that she doesn't belong there, and she takes a photo of him. A problem is about to form between them, so Priya leaves with Will. At night, the trio is sitting around the campfire when Ben goes to bed. Priya hears an unusual sound that leads her to use a lantern to see what it could have been. She thinks someone is there. In the morning, Ben and Will join to look at a peculiarity. When Priya joins them, we see they are looking at a decapitated pig's head. Will asks if they should call someone. Priya says she has her camera, but realizes it has been stolen. Ben agrees with Will. He thinks they should contact the university. The woman is least frightened, saying they are not in danger. She also says that when the police arrive, the people who committed the theft will already be long gone. The culprits have gone to great lengths to create trouble, making the trio's fishing net get stuck in a tree, which Priya struggles to remove. At night, Will tells Priya that he wishes he had done this 50 years ago, before things got mixed up like they are now. This leads the two to share an intimate moment when Ben interrupts them, coming out of his tent to relieve himself. They are forced to get involved elsewhere. Priya steps out of her tent to find Ben cooking around the campfire. She sits near him, and he asks how she feels. Without getting a response, Ben asks if they should go back, but Priya doesn't want to. She wonders if there are more pigheads to scare them today. After Ben says there are not, he tells her he doesn't think it's a good idea for her to get involved with a student. Priya acts confused about what he's saying. He firmly states that the university has rules, and she must be careful. His concern makes Priya ask when exactly he became so bitter. Correcting her, he says he is cynical. Soon, Will joins them, calming the discussion between the two. Priya tells Will that he won't need him today, so he can help Ben while she steps away. Will shouts that she might get lost. The woman replies that one never gets lost alone in the swamps. Priya is collecting her water samples. In no time, she is scared by a sound twice. On the third time she hears the sound, she screams that she knows someone is there. Eventually, she screams that it's not funny and exits the water to enter another section. Her bad luck prevents her from using her phone. It seems to have stopped working. The sounds continue to scare her, and we observe how the environment has become alarming. Thus, Priya returns to her colleagues, where she gets frustrated. She tells them she has enough data for her reports. All she's waiting for are Ben's samples so they can leave the swamps. When she asks Ben how long it will take him, she doesn't get a response. Therefore, she asks again. As soon as he says it will take a few days, she asserts that she doesn't have that much time. While Priya sleeps in her tent at night, we see a hand reaching out from the outside towards her. She wakes up scared, and the hand pulls away. But the problems don't stop there, as this same individual begins to unzip her tent. Although she evades it, she is terrified to see the silhouette of the blade that the person is holding while scaring her with it. She runs out of the tent. We see her running in slow motion in the darkness, highlighting her level of alarm. Soon she encounters a barely visible figure and recoils in fear. She grabs a piece of wood to defend herself. In this moment of chaos, after she swings a few times in the direction of the frightening person, Priya resumes her run. In the morning, she wakes up in her tent a second time after such a strange occurrence. She touches the wall of her tent to make sure no one is there. Priya wonders if it was all just a nightmare. Noticing a tear in her shirt, she begins to believe that it is real. Stepping out of her tent, she tells her colleagues that they need to finish sampling and leave today. Ben steps out with Will and estimates they should be back in an hour. Time passes as they walk through the tall grass, where they hear a pig squeal. Priya checks her watch, possibly counting the minutes until an hour. At the other end, Will asks Ben if they are lost. The man responds with an interesting euphemism, claiming they are temporarily geographically displaced, a fancy way of saying. Ben also states that he has been there many times. When Will aggressively places his hand on Ben's shoulder to ask if they are really lost, Ben loses his cool and screams that he is not sure. Will directs Ben's attention to a dead pig. It's probably what they heard squealing. Looking at it, Ben says it must have put up a big fight. Fortunately, we do not witness what they see, but we can infer from Ben's statement that they are observing an unusual slaughter. As they approach the poor animal, Ben finds Priya's camera, switching to her. Priya is surprised by the presence of a dog. She checks the collar to see it is Cerberus, the evil man's dog from the gas station. He has strayed from his owner for an unknown reason. Anxious after seeing the dog, Priya quickly packs her belongings and starts walking to find her colleagues. She bravely walks through the tall grass. Soon the duo hears someone's horrified scream and starts to run. Priya must be close, as she is also running. It doesn't take long for her to locate her friends after she screams where they have been. Will informs her that someone chased them. He shows Priya her camera, stating that those lunatics probably dropped it during the chase. Priya checks to see that the photo she took of the man is still there. Additionally, there is a video recorded by the hunters. The woman is filming the man until a figure approaches them and the camera drops, with someone's blood splattering on it. Once the video ends, the trio hears whistling. Suddenly, The hunter comes running towards them, naked. The rope tied around him causes him to fall. Abruptly, he starts to be dragged back into the tall grass, making the group chase him. As he enters the water, they observe how he is hanging from a leafless tree. The trio stands there looking at the horrific spectacle and simply cannot believe it. They move closer to get a better look, and in a few seconds, the trio hears someone moving toward them, so they hide. The person they see resembles the one Priya encountered the night before. He begins to cut into the hunter, but while doing this, he feels someone nearby. However, he sees no one when he looks back. He resumes cutting the hunter's body to place it in a bag. He leaves the poor body on a rock before walking away. The trio uses this time to flee. Eventually, they stop to catch their breath, and Priya says this is impossible. It should just be a story. Ben believes the man they saw was a maniac who heard the story about the swagman and decided to take on that role. When they hear someone moving, the group runs again. The person they heard is the woman who was with the hunter. She is terrified. Being a caring person, Priya comes out of her hiding place to save her. Covered in blood, the woman keeps repeating that he is coming. This leads the researchers to try to keep her quiet. The four of them hide, terrified, listening to the swagman's eerie whistle. Soon they discover something they didn't have the chance to pay attention to. The woman is gone, and Priya urges them to leave immediately. Elsewhere, the trio lies in the tall grass. Ben tells Priya that he is sorry, and she replies that none of this is his fault. Despite what she says, he still apologizes for everything. The woman looks at him and says it doesn't matter at the moment. He then says he needs to go to the bathroom. As he ventures to find a place, Priya warns him not to go too far. Shortly after, they realize that Ben should have held his urge to go to the bathroom, as his scream echoes in the distance. Priya runs in his direction, but finds only his abandoned supplies while he continues to scream from another spot. We see that the swagman is brutally attacking Ben in a raw manner. He grabs a hook to do this. Then, Priya finds Ben hanging upside down in a tree, and Will runs to help her hold him. Ben wants his friends to hurry before the monstrous man returns. When they hear his unsettling whistle, Ben urges them to flee, so they hide in the tall grass, waiting for the swagman to arrive. To their despair, the swagman is behind them and knocks the unsuspecting duo down. He follows this action by approaching Ben to remove the organ that interests him. In doing so, Ben's life comes to an end. The maniac then proceeds to devour what is left. Waking up, Priya runs to where Ben should be and discovers he has been removed from the hook he was hanging from. This makes the poor woman cry, falling to the ground. She walks to another tree and quickly hides upon seeing the swagman behind the trees. After several seconds, she peeks to see that he is no longer there. Thus, she moves more freely to search for him. The newly suffered wound affects Priya to the point of making her fall to her knees. Looking up, she sees the easy face of the swagman. He places his hand on her head before she passes out. After he leaves, Priya regains consciousness and rises to continue moving. We see that Will is now awake and crying in fear. As soon as he sees Priya behind him, he runs to hug her, relieved that she is alive. The researcher does not know what is happening. She thinks none of this is possible. Will wants to fight, but she says they cannot if they don't know what they are dealing with. According to her, the maniac is currently feeding. As soon as he finishes, he will go out to feed again. Priya believes the swagman is picking them off one by one until everyone disappears. She plans to run for escape, so the duo continues to advance through the swamps. Eventually, they stop at a certain point, and Priya says they need to reach an area they recognize. She pulls out her compass, which isn't helping due to its chaotic spinning. Despite this, the experienced traveler finds out where north is using the sun as a reference point. Therefore, they must go in the opposite direction to find the camp or the road. They keep running through the tall grass. Eventually, Will says they are going in circles. The area they entered is the same as the one they just left. This is another phenomenon that Priya simply cannot comprehend. However, the duo continues trying because they have no other choice. When they return to the location for the third time, Will comments that it was even faster this time. He finds a circular object on the ground that he thinks may be important in some way. Priya instructs him to stay while she investigates alone. In no time, he witnesses the impossible. He sees Priya running towards him from the other side. This occurrence proves that the duo is trapped in a paranormal snare. Frustrated, Will destroys the circle he found by stepping on it. They continue running. Relieved, they arrive in a new area. Priya advises that they need to keep moving to avoid being caught by the swagman. She thinks he uses his sense of smell to find people, so she takes off her shirt and has Will rub it on himself. The survivors crouch down to the ground, listening to their hunter walking around. As soon as they begin to move, they leave some of their items behind for the swagman to find. After more stealthy movements, the duo sits down. Suddenly, Will is bitten by a snake, just what they needed in a desperate moment. Treating his wound, Priya says the less he moves, the better, as they are not just avoiding a horrendous person, but now Priya has to provide support to someone who may not survive. It doesn't take long for Will to fall to the ground. He has difficulty breathing and tells himself that the swagman is not real. Suddenly, he starts to get dragged away. His friend runs to find him, but luck has not been on her side recently. Therefore, she falls to the ground in despair. Fortunately, Priya is not the type to give up, as she keeps walking. The poor woman removes a leech from her shoulder and another from her neck. She wipes the blood that the leech managed to suck on the tall grass. We see the swagman following her. He passes by her as she hides. Finally, we see how difficult her situation is when an aerial view shows that the location they are in forms a circle. Despite this, Priya still goes out, managing to reach the road. The sunset greets her as she collapses on the road, relieved. She seems certain the swagman won't come out here to take her life. Lying down, she hears the sound of a car approaching and sees people getting out and coming toward her. To her surprise, it is her friends who should be dead. Maybe it was just a nightmare. However, she looks again to see that they have gone. Now completely disoriented, Priya is still in the swamps. She hallucinates her escape. As she realizes this, the swagman catches up to her, and in the process of being dragged by him, Priya screams in horror. The swamps are his playground, and the poor woman is his next prey.